Welcome, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to share today's explainer with you. Now, usually on this show, we're dissecting massive data sets, breaking down heavy research papers, or untangling deeply complex theories. But today we're doing something entirely different, but honestly, equally powerful. We're going to take a single, profound 12-word quote and transform it into an inspiring, totally actionable framework for relentless persistence. Because let's be real, sometimes the most complex human struggles like procrastination, burnout, or just feeling completely overwhelmed can actually be solved by the simplest, most beautifully structured advice. So we're going to deconstruct these words and see how they literally map out a story of overcoming stagnation. Get comfortable, lock in, and let's unravel the persistence paradigm together.
Okay, let's dive into this. Don't watch the clock, do what it does. Keep going. These 12 words from Sam Levinson are our anchor for today's journey. At first glance, right, it kind of just looks like a clever motivational poster you'd see hanging in an office hallway. But if we actually break it down, it's a literal masterclass in shifting your mindset. Structurally, Levinson has actually given us a tiny 3-act story here. We have the setup of our problem, a sudden twist in perspective, and a final heroic resolution. So we're going to look at each of these pieces to see exactly how we can use this to absolutely crush whatever hurdles are sitting in front of us right now.
All right, part 1, the trap of watching. Every great story needs a villain. And in our narrative of persistence, the villain isn't failure. No, it's the passive, deeply anxious act of just observing. Levinson starts with a really clear warning. Don't watch the clock. Think about the last time you literally watched a clock. Maybe you were dreading a massive deadline, or maybe you were stuck doing a task you absolutely hated, just begging the seconds to tick by faster. And what happens? Time seems to just freeze, right? By isolating this opening phrase, we expose a massive psychological trap. Watching is a state of total paralysis. When we're hyper-fixated on the time passing, or how long a project is taking, or just how incredibly far away the finish line is, we aren't actually doing a single thing to get closer to that finish line. We're just waiting. And, as we all know, waiting just breeds anxiety.
So the difference between failure and persistence really comes down to a vital comparison. On one side, we have passive observation. This is where that watching the clock mentality lives. It's characterized by anxiety, waiting, and that awful sinking feeling of being stuck in the mud. When you're in this state, whatever hurdle you're facing instantly becomes magnified. It just looks daunting. But on the flip side, we have active progression. This is movement. This is relentless focus. This is action. The stagnant mindset lets the obstacle entirely dictate your emotions, while the active mindset focuses entirely on the process of moving forward. Levinson's opening line is essentially telling us to abandon that passive side of the equation entirely.
Which brings us to part 2, doing what it does.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how our narrative shifts drastically right here. We move away from that passive anxiety and we hit an incredible twist. Do what it does. He doesn't just tell you to ignore the clock. He tells you to become it. In an instant, the clock transforms from a source of pressure, like some master counting down your failures, into a role model. It goes from being the thing intimidating you right into the actual blueprint for your success. It's a brilliantly clever cognitive reframe. Basically, if you're gonna pay attention to the clock at all, don't look at its face, look at its function.
Let's really define the clock through Levinson's metaphorical lens for a second. A clock is not merely a timekeeper. It is a machine of entirely unbothered, relentless forward motion. Think about it. A clock doesn't care if it's raining outside. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't pause to worry about whether its previous tick was, good enough, or if its next tick will be absolutely perfect. It just ticks. It possesses this mechanical, steady rhythm that completely ignores external hesitation. So when Levinson says do what it does, he's explicitly instructing us to adopt that exact same unbothered mechanical rhythm in our own work. And finally, we reach part 3, the power of persistence.
This is the climax of our story. We've identified the trap, we've found our role model. So the crucial point is captured in these 2 final, forceful words. Keep going. This is the ultimate directive, guys. It's the perfect distillation of persistence. When you're facing a massive creative block, or when a task feels so ridiculously overwhelming that you don't even want to begin, the answer isn't to figure out the whole giant puzzle at once. The answer is just to keep going. Take the next step. Make the next keystroke. Read the next page. Just like the clock making its next tick, your only responsibility in a moment of overwhelm is to produce the very next moment of forward momentum.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly practical framework you can literally use today. We can logically break down Levinson's quote into a super clear 3-step action plan. Step 1, stop watching. You've got to catch yourself when you're passively stressing over the timeline or the massive scale of your project and consciously break that gaze. Step 2, emulate the rhythm. Find your steady pace. It doesn't have to be a frantic sprint, right? A clock doesn't sprint, it just ticks steadily. And step 3, keep going. Maintain that baseline of action entirely regardless of the emotional friction you might be feeling.
To really anchor this in reality, let's look at the key traits of doing what a clock does in practice. First, ignoring passing time. This basically means detaching your personal worth from how long something takes to finish. Second, maintaining steady progress. This is all about valuing consistency way over intensity. You don't need some heroic, explosive burst of energy. You just need to not stop. And finally, embracing unstoppable momentum. Now, why does this matter for you? Well, because momentum is the absolute cure for stagnation. When you embody this relentless, ticking momentum, the friction of starting just disappears because you're already in motion. You become an unstoppable force by simply refusing to be a stationary object.
And this brilliantly illustrates a final challenge for you today. I want you to think about the absolute biggest project or hurdle you're facing in your life right now. Are you just watching it? Are you passively observing the time tick away, just feeling that anxiety build up? Or are you going? Are you embodying the unbothered, relentless momentum of the clock itself? The next time you feel stuck, remember those 12 little words. Don't let the clock intimidate you. Emulate it. Just tick forward. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.